100 years ago, the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution was passed, giving women the right to vote. Since then, women's influence has grown, with more women in the workforce and in positions of power than ever. But we still have a long way to go until we reach true equality. Let's take a look at how far we've come. In 1920, after decades of protests, hunger strikes, and organizing, women gained the right to vote with the passage of the 19th Amendment. This was not the end of the movement, but the beginning. The amendment only allowed white women to vote. It wasn't until 4 years later that the Indian Citizenship Act gave Native American women the right to vote. Chinese women were not able to vote until 1943, and Japanese women in 1952. While the 15th Amendment had granted African American men the right to vote, it wasn't until 1964 that black women truly gained voting rights. The 24th Amendment abolished poll taxes and literacy tests that had often disproportionately prevented black women from voting. The power to vote increased women's influence in society. It also empowered them to run for office. Jeannette Rankin became the first woman elected to Congress in 1916, when she was elected to represent Montana, whose state law granted suffrage to women before federal law did. Shortly after, Rebecca Felton became the first female senator in 1922, representing Georgia. Women have made far strides since. In 2016, Hillary Clinton became the first woman to receive a nomination for president, and in 2021, Kamala Harris was the first woman to become vice president. The 2020 election also elected the highest number of women ever to Congress, with 119 women in the House and 24 women in the Senate. An increased number of women in government has led to the passage of legislation that helps women, including Title IX, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in schools, and the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, aiming to incentivize equal pay for women in the workforce. This year, a record high 37 women are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, 13 of which are women of color. Viewership of women's sports has increased dramatically in the past year, with the WNBA up 68% and the National Women's Soccer League up 493%. While it is important to recognize these achievements, it is also necessary to note that the work still remains to be done. Today, women only account for 26.7% of Congress, far short of an equal 50. Pennsylvania has never had a female senator or governor. In the workforce, women only comprise 7.4% of all Fortune 500 companies. And in sports, women only receive 4% of all media coverage. This Women's History Month, let's honor the women who have paved the way for success and representation by continuing their work to reach equality.